Welcome back to Ready, Set, Geek. This is Creative Control. Is there anything better than a good debate? Yes. Yes, there are. Several things, in fact. But I've already committed to this bit, and I'm the host, so we're going to have to go through with this because, yeah. But a host can only be as good as a co-host, and that's why this is going so poorly today. So let's get on over and introduce the avenging juggalo, the evil preppy villain who hates John Cusack, the master of the, well, actually, Mr. Bill Remengo. Hi, Bill.
Cusack's the worst.
He is the worst, except in everything that he's in. I like John Cusack.
I bet you do.
He's an American sweetheart.
I like your pumpkin-flavored shirt.
I'm just saying, this is how I get white girls.
That's one way to do it.
That's one way to do it.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we're going to be playing Creative Control. Tim was able to secure the first point, as you can tell. During the commercial break, Bill put a point on the board.
Super high-tech scoreboard.
I'm telling you, man.
Cutting edge.
Yes. We have everything hooked up. It's actually hooked up to a laptop, so this is cutting edge.
You're not supposed to tell them that.
I'm sorry.
It's for the bonus features on the DVD that we release next year.
All right. So, Creative Control. I'm going to give you guys 3 topics. Tim, you're going to be able to pick that topic. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to hear an answer, and then an answer, and then an answer. Tim, you're going to have 60 seconds to make your opening argument. You gentlemen will be able to follow. Followed by 90 seconds to rebut everyone else's argument and start strengthening your own. 30 seconds, yes, will be your closing argument. Now, if any of you happen to step out of turn, if any of you happen to start lying like dirty lying liars, we have Bill here with the power of the...
Well, actually...
He will stomp you so hard into the ground you won't know what happened. You'll be like, why am I in China? And you're like, oh, you got well actually by Bill. It was the whole thing.
The audience like that, Joe.
Hey, I appreciate that. Thanks, 25,000 people who came out to support us. Appreciate
We're sold
you
out. Sold out. Sit down. Relax.
All right. So,
right,
Tim,
ready.
are you ready for your topics?
Yes, sir.
Number 1, make way for the bad guy. Number 2, a little bit of tenderness. I spelled it with an I to be clever.
That's super clever.
I know, it's very clever.
Good job.
Number 3, take a Netflix and chill pill. Also clever. What are we going to be talking about?
Number 1.
Number 1, make way for the bad guy. Bill.
Yep.
Contestants.
That's them.
That's them. With a Venom and Joker film coming up, which comic book villain deserves their own film? Ready for this?
I am, yes.
Let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
All right, Tim. What is your answer?
My answer is Ra's al Ghul. I believe...
Well, actually, Tim. First one of the show.
China. Well, just mud hole right there. Not
You
the
say
wrestler.
the answer. Let's see if JC
She's
can follow
dead.
the rules.
All right, JC.
Bane.
Perfect.
I liked it. It was nice. It was concise. It was punctual. It was monosyllabic. Words. Curse. Who you got?
I don't know. I was just going to go Penguin, but I don't want them all to be Batman. So
It's
He
okay.
does have the best rogues gallery.
Yeah.
yeah, let's go with the Penguin.
All right, the Penguin it is. We're going to put 60 seconds on the clock as soon as Bill unlocks his phone.
Well, actually, Chris.
We're ready and prepared. You almost there?
Wait, one
You
more
can't
second.
have that.
There
Oh,
it is.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe in you.
Got a little dicey there.
Yeah.
All right, Tim. I want to hear some stuff about Ra's al Ghul. You have 60 seconds. Let's go.
All right. If you want to make a movie that's going to be able to have an amazing story and backstory, you can go all the way back years and years and years to tell the entire story of how Ra's al Ghul gained his power and rose to the top and formed the League of Assassins, or gained control of the League of Assassins. You have all the extra characters, his daughter, you have what ties in to him always trying to find a successor for the League of Assassins, League of Shadows. And it's 7 different names and everything that it's in. We all know it's a League of Assassins. And his quest to always find a successor, because he doesn't want his daughter to take over for him. He doesn't want anyone that's currently in the league to take over for him. He's always looking for that new person to show promise that he can take under his wing and take control and do things the way that he wants to keep the demon's head alive for another 6,000-7,000 years. You can go all the way back through all great events and catastrophes in history, wars, all to see all dictator assassinations, to see how they tie into it and how they made it happen. And you have a wealth of
That's time.
Very strong opening argument.
That was good.
I got behind that. All right, JC. Bane. Bane.
I think
I
Bane.
would like to hear your argument, please.
I will not do it all in the voice because, well, I'll get into that. Bane, I think, is an incredibly interesting villain. He's got a great backstory, just being brought up in the pit, just a life of just mistreatment, and it creates a real complex villain. But I really just don't feel like Dark Knight Rises did him any sort of justice. He's one of the only villains in the movies that actually really physically injured Batman. Like, that has to be worth something. The whole backstory of his childhood and his upbringing and his motivations, I really think could do a nice complex film. Whereas Dark Knight Rises, I really just think took a lot of those elements and they really started to build onto that and then really just kind of pulled the rug out from him at the end, where all those interesting motivations that he would have as a villain got distilled down to, I did it because my girlfriend told me to.
It's time.
Very good. All right, Curse. The Penguin, who coincidentally, if you watched last week's show, was voted the second best villain in Batman's Rogues Gallery.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it was last week. It was 1 week ago.
Oh.
I'm so glad you paid attention.
Yeah.
I did a whole thing.
Justin, it's your turn.
Thank you. I just think you could take the Penguin in so many different ways, because there's been so many people who played him differently. You could do it the top hat wearing Burgess Meredith, or the creepy actual penguin finger Danny DeVito. And then his whole motivation is really just to take over Gotham, is to, in his mind, just better it for the misfits, the different type of people that aren't the rich, the powerful, the corrupt. Maybe he doesn't go about it the correct way, but I think in his heart he thinks he is, and I think that's just a good motivation to try and change the city for what you think is good.
You
Yeah,
have
a little
about
bit more
15
time.
seconds
15
left.
seconds, man. Plus, you got killer penguins. Who doesn't want to see killer penguins?
Cool.
Anybody else in the NHL? What's up, Pittsburgh? That was my San Dimas High School rules of the show.
That's good.
I try.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go with 90 seconds now. I want to hear why yours is better than the rest of these and how you're going to start differentiating what your film is going to be. Tim.
My film is going to be a series of films. There is going to be a license to print money, like I said before, with all the League of Assassins, League of Shadows merchandise that you can sell off of, because you can establish other characters in the League. They could even make up characters to put in these movies and put a high-profile actor in it and give them their own story from being in the League of Shadows. The reason why a Bane film would not work, because have you ever looked on YouTube and seen Bane Cat? Bane Cat is wildly more entertaining than anything Bane has ever done, especially his portrayal in The Dark Knight Rises, which I totally agree with you on that. That was not Bane. That's not my Bane, is what they would say.
Hashtag.
And you can't make another movie based off the Penguin, because no one will ever be the Penguin like Danny DeVito, and he's what, like 90 years old right now, and he's Frank Reynolds too.
Yeah.
Everybody would be watching that movie saying, why is Frank Reynolds dressed up like a guy fighting Batman? And why is he 90 years old?
And if they ever watched Frank Reynolds, they would understand why he's
Yeah.
fighting Batman.
Exactly. And you can't. The Penguin primarily operates out of Bloodhaven, which would then put you involved with Nightwing, certain things like that. And if people want to see Batman, which he wouldn't be fighting Batman in those movies, because he primarily goes up against Nightwing. And you can have anyone play Ra's al Ghul, and you can have anyone play anyone and any one of his underlings, and you can just really make spin-off hits from that.
That's time.
Excellent. All right, JC. Brain.
Go.
Time to go mobile.
All right. that backstory with Bane, I think, it's compressible enough into one film where you could, have a sizable chunk about his past and then, give him some motivation, something that he wants to tear down, be it, Batman again, any of the other heroes in the DC universe. There's a lot of different material you could work with. You could give that character the justice that he deserves. You could, actually show him as the character that he should have been instead of the funny talking mouth breather that was in Dark Knight Rises. I really do like the Ra's al Ghul idea. My only issue with that is I really think that idea would be much more suited to a television series. I feel like there's entirely too much material to compress into a film. You would have to have an entire movie that was just set up. Whereas, if you had a TV series, you could actually bring all the different characters in and out and actually, stretch that story out. And I kind of with the idea with the Penguin is, you wouldn't want to do a Joker movie because Heath Ledger will always be the Joker at this point. He just killed that role to a point that very few could ever stand up to. Danny DeVito was the Penguin. And I kind of agree with that sentiment that you couldn't really bring him in at this point because, he has those other connotations these days. And I don't know that anyone else could really pull that role off.
It's time.
Excellent. All right, Curse. I want to hear about the Penguin.
All right, so with Bane, the mainstream knows Dark Knight Rises and then the cartoon from the 90s. The steroided Mexican luchador fighter. And
Who doesn't want to
Performance enhancing.
yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
We don't want to get any...
Human growth hormone.
There it is.
No.
And no one really wants to see that, and that's what they're going to think of when you hear of a Bane movie. One of those two. Ra's al Ghul does sound alright. Well, too much to say about that. I kind of wish I could have picked him. But TV would probably be better for that, like a mini series or something like that. The Penguin, they said the same thing about Jack Nicholson when he did the Joker, that no one would top his Joker, and it was topped. So I think if you got the right person, you could top Danny DeVito. It'd be hard, but you would need the right person. Some comedic actor, maybe a serious actor if you're going the save the city route. It all depends on that.
You have 10 more seconds. One.
No. Yeah,
You now have 7 seconds.
So
I don't know
conceited.
what else to say.
No, these are excellent points. All right, here's your curveball for your last 30 seconds. We're talking about having a villain film. We're already seeing what I don't know what this Joker film is going to be. If they're going to attempt to humanize him, it sounds terrible. The Venom film sounds horrible. How are you going to make us root for your villain character? What is going to be your centerpiece that you're going to be able to tie onto and make this audience have to root for the bad guy? Let's get 30 seconds from all of you about how your film is going to do that.
Tim, you're first.
So
Nice job. I think
you can
You're
tell
welcome.
the story of how Ra's al Ghul rose to power and the adversities he overcame. You can get people to root for him, and not only can you get people to root for him, but the other two villains are direct adversaries of Batman. Ra's al Ghul more wants to be with Batman to have him take over. They're not necessarily enemies. They fight each other because they have different ideals. The other two are actively trying to stop or kill Batman.
That's time. Perfect.
JC.
Go.
The backstory of Bane, the being raised in terrible conditions, of having to suffer through that pit of a prison in the middle of nowhere and rising up and becoming strong because of it, that creates almost an anti-hero backstory for him. You just see all that adversity that he's had to overcome, and it just made him stronger. You make it hard to fight against him. And who the hell doesn't want to see a luchador movie? I just have to bust that point down.
Anything with Jack Black?
Jack of color.
No, sorry. All right, Curse. Make us root for the Penguin.
So the Penguin was thrown away at birth. So, he was unwanted. No one liked him, even when he came back. So I think right there, you'd get the people who feel, lost, the misfits, the people who just don't feel like they fit in are going to love to come see this guy win in a movie for once.
You're so concise with your arguments. It freaks
No.
me out a little bit. I'm more verbose.
Me too.
That means you talk a lot.
Yes.
Education.
Hey, I used matriarchy last week.
It's good.
I know.
I
was
said
very proud of
anachronism
myself.
earlier.
What's that?
I said anachronism earlier.
I did.
So many big words.
I said monosyllabicism. All right, Bill.
Want to talk about the points now?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's talk some Batman rogues.
Yeah. So all
Look
three.
at all your notes.
Yeah, it took a lot.
You took a lot of notes.
I have brain notes. All three characters are very interesting that they had brought up. For Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, however you choose to pronounce it, we've seen a couple different iterations of it, and not only in film, but the Green Arrow show did a whole season where he was the bad guy, so that was the TV thing. For Bane, seeing it in the past with different interpretations, if you will. You didn't even bring up the George Clooney version of Bane, which
There's a reason
is
for that.
the best, obviously.
Right.
No, kidding. And then the Penguin, I'm surprised you didn't bring up the Gotham TV show, because he's kind of the main bad guy on that show. But with that being said, as far as the arguments are concerned, I like the idea of, that's the cool thing right now, is building a universe and having a starter point movie that's going to launch a bunch of movies. They're talking about a Stephen King universe, and DC's building a universe and having all these different things going on because they're trying to follow Marvel's suit. And I think building a universe of characters and always being able to tap into that, I think, is a very strong point. The other strong point made was regarding Bane regarding Bane. Your name's JC, but your character is Bane. A point that JC had brought up was the fact that when you look at the backstory of these characters, to me, Bane's backstory is one of the more sympathetic backstories. But then the counterpoint to that was the fact that, with Tim said that Ra's al Ghul isn't always fighting Batman necessarily. He's trying to get him to join him. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I think those two were the strongest arguments. I think I would give the point to Tim for Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, I kind of lost the script on the Penguin because you basically pitched the Penguin from Batman Returns.
Yeah. And
with the Misfits and everything else, and I was already kind of saw that, and it was very hot topicy, which I almost works with the Gotham character now, who almost is a little bit more sympathetic. That's mostly due to the actor. The actor is fantastic. So for me, it really did come between Ra's al Ghul and Bane. I liked your points, JC. I thought you came in strong, and
You can just say no. It's okay.
No. I have to break it down because otherwise it's my show. You're right. Dark Knight Rises did drop the ball at the end of that movie, but they dropped it at the end of that movie.
At the end, Chris?
I know that we differ on this,
Or
but
from the
but
opening
Bane was fairly true to character to a point until you got to that last third of the movie, and then he was just a henchman being used, and you threw away what was a very strong villain. But your film would just be to course correct an act of a film and a character study. And I really like the points that you brought up about Ra's al Ghul. And even with launching a franchise, it makes me nervous because you see people putting the cart before the horse right now.
Yeah.
They wanted to do the Stephen King universe, which started with Dark Tower. Okay, well, you got to make a good first film before you can do that.
Right.
Let's look at Universal Studios and trying to do The Mummy right now. But you did pitch a good opening film. You pitched the family story. You pitched him being able to rise up through the ranks and show the power struggle, and you did root for him in an almost Batman-free movie because you've set things so far in the past. That's the one that I would absolutely want to go see, and I would see it more than the Venom or the Joker movie. So, Warner Brothers, let's get on this. Let's make this a thing, because Tim has 2 points now. 2 points.
Turn the applause sign on.
Oh.
Forget it.
I was going to write applause, but then I
The
was worried about the
moment's gone.
spelling of it
The moment's gone.
and looking like a fool. And I don't
Oh,
want
you
to
were
look
worried
like a
about
fool.
that
I was
then.
worried about looking like a fool.
Oh.
Cut.
We'll be right back.
I didn't want to look like a fool. Was I being?
I thought you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to stare at the